Hello and welcome to this Is It Good review slash preview of Project Wunderwaffe. You may have known in the end of the Second World War, when Germany got desperate, they started coming up with all sorts of crazy technologies that they were investigating to try and find a super weapon to repel the Allied advance. And that's essentially the concept behind this game, where you play as a German outpost in the middle of a mountain, and you have to develop and build your base and start researching and unlocking technologies in the hope of coming across or creating a super weapon that's going to change the war. And in the meantime, you have the three different armies, or three different fronts closing on you. And if that timer on either of them reaches 0 days, then the game is over. As you make stuff, you can load up things that you've created, weapons, and you can dispatch them to the front in order to push back some of the enemy advance on that front. It all sounds great in concept, and I have to say that there is a lot of detail and care that has gone into this, or elements of this game. Like, each of the individual rooms has got animations, it's got lots of detail. There's so much attention and care going in here to bring an atmosphere and make it interesting. You just sort of go from room to room and peek at what's going on inside your base. But something in this game is not quite right. The difficulty level it's not just hard, it is brutal. Let me show you what I mean. The tech tree, and I've worked through the first stage. That took me, you get about a month and a half to before the allies would reach you. It took me about a month just to get to the second tier. That's the point where you can actually smelt metals that you've mined and start to produce everyday components that you need. Things like rebar to go in concrete to make reinforced walls. The second stage is where you actually start to develop the interesting weapons. And you look at some of these and go, well, 1,500 gold bars to move to the next level, but then I actually have to unlock all this stuff first before I can even do that. So the progression is slow. I mean, it took me probably a couple of hours just to get through the first tier of the game. And when I look at this research tree and we look at the stuff that's further on down here, and you go, oh yeah, nuclear energy, tanks, missiles, anti-grav system, whatever that is, and eventually a nuclear bomb. But at the moment I have no faith that it's even possible to get that far, because I'm running out of time and I haven't even managed to start producing a decent amount of weapons in tier 2 yet. Now, the developers are aware of this, and they have sort of responded and indicated that they're open to making some changes. They wanted the game to be challenging. But at the moment it seems like there's only one perfect strategy perhaps that you have to follow a little too closely to get yourself geared up in the deadline. And so maybe something like having an adjustable difficulty timer, tweaking elements like that to give a couple of difficulty levels could make the game more accessible, in that you can play through the first time on a less rigorous setting, get the hang of the thing, figure out how it all works, figuring out where you want to target your efforts, and then come back and put it on the hard difficulty to prove your intellectual superiority if you want to. So yeah, it's quite cool going down and looking through the mines here and all the different areas, and even you can go and zoom into the mine here. You might see my little mining thing come around in a minute. The other thing that's challenging about the game is that you have to manually set pretty much everything. Here you go, the little mining cart coming back out, or the mining drill. See, it's stuff like this. You go, well, there's so much detail put into this part of the game, and yet the balance is fundamentally wrong, you know, or is not. It's just not achievable, it seems, and a lot of people are saying the same stuff. There's also a lot of soft blocking where you, for instance, to make reinforced walls, you need rebar. Now a train will come every so often, you may have seen one just before in the corner there, and it will drop off supplies, and you can see hovering over the next transport what it'll bring you. But for instance, after the first several trips, it'll stop bringing you rebar. The facility you need, so the production line here, to make rebar, that needs reinforced walls to make it. So if you have no rebar, you can't make the reinforced walls to make the production line to then make more rebar. And the game doesn't warn you about that or do anything around it. Same with water and power. To make a power pump needs water, and to make a water pump work, to build one, needs power. So if you end up in a situation where, say, a saboteur comes and blows up some of your water pumps or power pumps, you then in a situation you might have to start turning off parts of your base to get below those caps to then rebuild them again. So yeah, that's not ideal, but as you become aware of it, you can sort of try and be proactive to work around that. It's not necessarily the end of the world, I don't think, but it is frustrating when you come across something like that. Just looking at these cool, you know, like the cool little foundry there. So yeah, so the balance needs work. But the other thing I said is the micromanaging. So for instance, here is my cement plant up here. I can tell it to break stone, which is mined into crushed stone, then make crushed stone into cement, and then you can choose to make cement into prefabricated walls. But I've got to assign each of these manually, so I can go, okay, yep, 3 lots of that order, and then a couple of that order. And yes, there is an infinity button here that I can go, you know what, I want you to constantly make that, and then I can put the other orders in around, you know, to add on. But even that doesn't quite work, because then it'll go down, and in the meantime, yeah, I need to add it back on the end there to be like yeah. So there's no way to sort of say, hey, I want you in stock to always have 10 of these and 5 of these and make more of these, like you would with other civilization building type games, where you can specify limits for how much of something you want to have on hand at all time. You know, your warehouse will tell you what you've got, and you can select what can and can't be stored in there, but it doesn't give you any guidance as to being able to set resource limits or production limits. So yeah. So what it means is that you have to micromanage everything. You have to come and allocate how many workers you want to be in that particular place. You have to, every time you have a mine, you need to build the mine and then allocate workers. When the mine runs out, you have to unallocate the workers, because otherwise for some reason they mysteriously get deleted, and then delete the mine. Yeah, the worker AI placement and the ordering of materials is very finicky, and it wouldn't necessarily be the end of the world again if you had time to go and do things and work through these processes, but as it is, you are running out of time. That's one thing you don't have in this game. So if I want to make, say, some weapons, so say I want to make some MP40s here, I need weapon components and boxes. So I've got boxes, so I'll make some weapon components. I'll make sure I have some spare medium boxes on hand just in case. And weapon components need iron plate, so I'll make some of those as well. Well, and all of a sudden, the times jumped forward. We went from having 3 days to suddenly having 0.3 days. And you could say, okay, well, what if I had one that I set up, one of these production yards that I set up to just make the weapon components, and then another one set up to just make boxes, and then another one making the assembled guns. But then that's 3 lots of workers that you need to supply, and then it is 3 lots of rooms you have to fund to build with resources that are already stretched to the limit to try and do the things you want to do and research the things you want to research and unlock the things you want to unlock in the time frame. So that doesn't really seem to be a viable strategy either. So I really want to like this game, and this is, I guess, where it's coming down to the is it good? Is it worth spending your money on? I love bits of this game. I like the aesthetic, the care that's gone into the design, the thought behind it. I love the sound of some of the inventions later in the game, but it is just so frustrating to never get to see it because of the fact that the game is not balanced enough, it seems, to be able to let you be successful. So all I can hope is that the developers do take the feedback on board, and if they do, then roll out a patch and tweak the game a bit and make it a little bit more accessible in the beginning, or give more guidance as to what is it that all of us seem to be missing that you need to actually be successful at the game. What is the strategy that we need to be trying to be successful? Hopefully then we can actually get to some of the in-game content, enjoy playing it, and I'll be able to give it a recommendation. But at the moment it's a pretty hard sell, because you see here I'm just spending all my time trying to produce equipment to send to the front to delay by a few hours. You know, it's taking me days to make this stuff, and every time I send it off it's only giving me, you know, half an hour extra time, let alone saving up the resources to be able to then go and, you know, unlock this stuff. So yeah, it's a bit frustrating, because I'd love to see what, you know, some of this in-game stuff looks like. So what do you think? Have you had a go? I know there was a free demo that came out previously, I think one of the Steam early festivals of upcoming games. Have you had a play of that? Were you looking forward to seeing the full game? Has this changed your opinion, or did you sort of see this coming in terms of how the game was developed? I mean, there are some people who certainly are uncomfortable with the idea of the setting and the moral and ethical sort of issues, but I mean, I guess there's many games where you can play on the side of Germany, and if you're someone who's into war games, for instance, then that'll be something that you'll be used to. But putting that aside, it's a it's a good idea for a game. So, what do you think? Will you be having a look and picking it up? Will you be sort of waiting and seeing, or do you think that we should give up, that there's not any hope for this? I for one to say I really hope that they do get it fixed, and I'd really look forward to revisiting it again. If you found this video useful, helping you to learn more about the game, please do give it a like. Consider subscribing for more content. I do look at a wide range of games to give you that all-important answer of if it's good or not. And once again, thanks very much for watching.